people from Sideline Sports with our first episode of the Bowtie Files, formerly known as the Bowtie Chronicles podcast, here to give you everything you need to know about the National Football League's draft that's upcoming and some issues with the Atlanta Falcons. This is our first one here on this platform, and in this mode, as we never planned to retire, we wanted to teach, write books, and do a website. And that's why we're here now. Just want to discuss the website that's coming up, bowtiesports.com. We're going to have Sideline Mike with us here doing the podcast. Everybody in Atlanta knows him from his duties on the radio and coming on radio shows and going on national shows and so forth. Tobias Wilborn is going to write a column for us. He'll be up in Pittsburgh covering the draft. And then we are in talks with Bruce Plummer, the former scout for the Atlanta Falcons for 10 years. We wanted him to do our previews during the season. He's going to do it with Scout 22 film and so forth. He wants to break it down for listeners and subscribers to our webpage as we move forward. So thank you all for listening. We're going to take a break right here. Then we're going to come back and get right to some issues for you.
Sideline Sports live every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
It's not a great league, the American League. The National League is far and away better.
I know we have those 4 games in
our
book.
John, I'm going to stop you there. The Orioles haven't gotten to the World Series.
No, I'm just saying, if you're a fan of any team, Cam Newton's always...
Oh, my gosh. You just say that name and I know something stupid's coming there.
8,000 points a game. What is Dragon Ball Z's in the WNBA now?
It's in the dog pile.
Stuff happens in the bottom of that pile. You don't even want to know about. You get spit on, you get poked, you get poked in the eye, in the ear.
Yeah.
You get, yes.
He's not a leader. He's a child. Go play on your burner account and go have fun.
All right. Hey, before we get moving, we're going to, do a kind of quick look back on some of the offseason moves for the Falcons heading into the draft. They got 71 players on the roster. That's room for the 5 draft picks and 14 other guys. If my math, if that gets you to 90, then add something to get you to 90. But the big one was Kirk Cousins. We can say goodbye to Kurt after 2 years. He signed with the Raiders, and now that's setting up they calling it a competition between Tua Tagovailoa and Michael Penix, who could be back for the start of the season or be in a competition with Tua for the starting job. Now, Tua has a 44 and a 32 record, so he has played a lot for the Dolphins. So he can hold it down. It's a better situation than going with a rookie or another veteran that make him play, but he's not Jacoby Brissett or something like that. So we think that's okay. And in addition to Tua, they did also sign Trevor Siemian as a kind of insurance man. So that's the quarterback room as it stands right now. Expect somebody to be added here in the draft or right after the draft. But the Kirk Cousins deal in retrospect didn't work out. And so now the Falcons are still searching for Matt Ryan's replacement. Kurt's off with the Raiders. Tua will be asked to hold it down. Then we'll see if they still want to see if Mike Penix can fulfill the promise that they thought he had when they took him at 8. But this is a different regime now, so all bets are off. We're just going to watch this thing and see it unfold as we move forward. Can Tua take his job? 44 and 32. He turned 28 in March. Penix turns 26 in May. He's only been 4 and 8 as a starter. So you want to try to get the guy to 20 starts to see, how he can, do. That was the old Gil Brandt rule. 20 starts in the league, you kind of can, tell which way it's going after that. And he's not there yet. Simeon's 34, journeyman from Northwestern. Smart guy to have in the meeting room. Now, one trade issue here going into the draft is, hey, Ian Cunningham said, hey, keep an eye on the first round. We might try to move up. He doesn't like having just 5 picks, but they don't have a lot of assets. So they were asked directly in a pre-draft meeting about trading Kyle Pitts. I don't think they should. I think you stand pat. but you could package him and maybe get some picks, get in the first rounds. There's some player that you gotta have. This will be Ian's first draft in control. He's going to make a statement. Trade in the first round would be a way to do that. So there we go. Just kind of looking back real quick at the quarterback situation and setting it up for the draft and whether you want to trade one of your assets in Kyle Pitts. So for now, we're going to take a break. All right, on to the next segment. James Pierce situation. Ian Cunningham was asked
Sideline
about
Sports live every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Caitlin Clark is Larry Bird, I would say, and Paige Beckers is Magic Johnson.
It's kind of like an oxymoron,
Yeah, moron is right.
Maybe when they listen to people like you, that's how they continue being the Browns.
They did have that type of talent for the pro level, but the scouts failed the team.
I disagree. The Panthers, I'm not saying they're making the playoffs, but they're going to be really hard to beat this year. Bryce Young.
So they're not winning the division. Hooked up with some chick, and then he told her he was a linebacker.
All right, we're back here at the Bowtie Files podcast. I'm D. Orlando Ledbetter, and the elephant in the Falcon room is James Pierce Jr. His situation, the multiple felony charges, possible suspension. The Falcons were asked about it yesterday, and they said it was status quo. They didn't have anything further on the situation. Now, there's some background here that we can bring to light. The teams around the league understood that there were some issues in Pierce's past. I knew that Baltimore had Mike Green on the board and didn't have Pierce on the board. The Falcons apparently had Pierce on the board and wanted him very much, with so much that they were going to take him at 15. But when Jalen Walker dropped there, they took him later. They traded back in, gave up this year's first round pick. But they knew of the issues that he had at Tennessee. They weren't anything of a public record, but they came back to the surface this summer. So they knew about him, and they do have one of the best guys in the league now, Kevin Winston, on staff to help the players that are in these tough situations. Kevin and his brother, they're known league-wide for helping players get on track and get their off the field situations in order and so forth. So he's back to help. He was even here during the Michael Vick trial. I mean, I would talk to him and Keon Carpenter back in the day to kind of get an understanding on that situation. So, so the Falcons with Pierce out, 10.5 sacks, it's probably, worst case, you don't know if they're going to have him for the year or just a 6-game suspension. But anyway, they got to look like they lost a pass rusher. They got to act like they lost a pass rusher. And so you got to look at the guys that they got in free agency. And they're going to have to get somebody here in the draft, I believe. We'll deal with the players on the radar screen here in a second. But past guys in the offseason that they have acquired and signed, Azeez Ojulari, $1.4 million from the Eagles. Former Georgia Bulldog from Marietta. Some flashes, some pass rush flashes. Cam Thomas played in 17 games for the Browns, defensive end. But the big guy, of course, is Jalen Walker, the first-round pick from last year. He had 36 tackles, 5.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery as a rookie. And DC Jeff Ulbrich said that he thinks the player will be even more productive in 2026. So a leap forward for Walker would even be more significant for the Falcons in light of the situation with James Pierce. So, the 10.5 sacks will be hard to replace. But, he faces multiple felony charges related to that incident with his former girlfriend and may not be available all season. It's going to be a bad situation. We just got to keep track of that. All right. So with that, we're going to take one more break here and then move on to some quick hitters, some things in the draft. and get you ready for Thursday through Saturday, where the draft's going to be held in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Sideline Sports live every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
It's not a great league, the American League. The National League is far and away better.
I know we have those 4 games in
All
our
right, John, I'm
book.
going to stop you there. The Orioles haven't gotten to the World
No,
Series.
I'm just saying,
in
if you're a
decades,
fan
so-
of any team, Cam Newton's always.
Oh my gosh, you just say that name and I know something stupid's coming there.
8,000 points a game. What is Dragon Ball Z's in the WNBA now?
It's in a dog pile.
Stuff happens in the bottom of that
Hey,
pile
a
you
lot of
don't even
stuff.
want to know about. You get spit on, you get poked, you get poked
your
in the
hair
eye
is
and the
pulled.
ear.
Yeah.
You get, yes.
He's not a leader. He's a child. Go play on your burner account and go have fun.
All right, we're back here at the Bowtie Fouls podcast, and just go to a couple quick hitters here before we get moving forward. Want to give a shout out to Bo Bach, one of the legendary radio hosts here in Atlanta. Passed away recently. Did a lot for sports talk radio across the nation out of Atlanta. Rest in peace, Bo Bach. All right, the draft is coming. Off-season program has started. And we're going to look at the NFC South here. Upcoming draft, Falcons just had the 5 picks, only picking 48th in the second round. They got a third, a fourth, a fifth, and I think a seventh there. Off-season program started. Bijan Robinson came out and spoke to the media, him and Jesse Bates, and they're talking about getting ready to, meet the new coaches, be impressed with the new coaches, impress the new coaches. Jesse Bates said, that's the challenge for him. And then looking at the NFC South, the Falcons got to start a little early. Panthers just went in this week. They're the team to beat now after winning the title last year. Tampa Bay is in, and so are the Saints. So heading into the draft, the NFC South, you got to kind of look at it as the Panthers. The Bucs had a lot of change, so they might be going the other direction. The Saints seem to be on the come, and the Falcons are kind of hovering to see if they can fix some of their issues that got them to 8-9 last year. So the draft is coming. The offseason program started. Now you want to look around the NFC South, and we did all that. We also want to thank a couple of our sponsors on bowtiesports.com. The patio will be podcasting there in the future. And our Morgan Stanley folks, the Sonya Fears Group. They are a franchise level sponsor for us here at the bowtiesports.com, and we really appreciate them. So going into the draft, we always do this, and we kind of, it's easier in the first round where we can kind of look and say, okay, they need a linebacker. They're taking Sean Witherspoon. We brag about that when we hit that one on the head a few years back. Now the Falcons are going into this draft, and it's not as clear, especially when you're picking down at 48 on what they might do. And one thing we got to do here is they made the trade for Rukaroru to Jacksonville for Mason, and he's a bigger defensive tackle, and so maybe tackles off the board. But anyway, our 5 people that are on the board for the Falcons include a defensive tackle, Lee Hunter. He was their pick by Mel Kiper in their last draft, his last mock draft, although he said they may still go with a wide receiver. And in that mode, I think Antonio Williams from Clemson was highly productive. He's our one wide receiver on the group. Oh, no, we got 2. We got 2 wide receivers. And Zachariah Branch is the second one from Georgia. Mel Kiper called him a bubble screen sensation. And but my folks at Georgia and Sideline Mike thinks he catches the ball too much into his body and so forth. So, but we'll see if he's on the board. He had a little problem in Athens on Saturday, obstruction of sidewalk. Sound like the cop got mad at him. He wouldn't move, or he didn't move fast enough, and ended up with a misdemeanor ticket there, a couple misdemeanors. Now, we alluded to the issues at edge rusher. And they could be addressed here. This is going to be It's one of the deeper groups in the draft. This kid might not be there, but if he is, they'll run a ticket up there right away. R. Mason Thomas from Oklahoma, edge rusher, outside help for the Falcons. Certainly would be, that would be a need pick. Ian Cunningham said they are a best player available team, so maybe they don't go that way and take a cornerback, Avian Terrell, AJ's little brother. He may be going to. But if he's not, you run that card on up there. So we're going into the draft here with these 5 players. Lee Hunter, Antonio Williams from Clemson, R. Mason Thompson from Oklahoma, Avian Terrell, cornerback from Clemson, and Westlake High in Atlanta, and then Zachariah Branch, the wide receiver from the University of Georgia. So the first, the draft is up on us, and at the top of the draft, we know that, or we believe we know that Fernando Mendoza is going to be the first pick going to the Raiders. Now there's some intrigue about running back Jeremiah Love, the fine Notre Dame back out of Christian Brothers College High in St. Louis. He broke, my cousin Weldon broke a bunch of records there from my cousin Weldon Ledbetter was a fullback there back in the day. But Jeremiah Love, some people consider him the best player in the draft. And now there's talk whether Arizona is going to take him at 3 or if they're going to just doing that to get some people to trade up to get some draft capital. But Love, what a dazzling back he was at Notre Dame. It was a joy to watch him run. And boy, once he got a crease, he could go take it to the house. Now he's going to have to stop all that hurdling and jumping over people and stuff. They're going to try to coach that out of him. But, those kids saw Saquon do the backwards jump, and so they're going to try to always emulate things. And we've seen that. They're going to try to have to calm him down a little bit. Now, yesterday, when on the pre-draft meeting with the media in Atlanta, Falcons general manager Ian Cunningham said that the wide receiver position and the defensive end position were the 2 deepest, and that's correct. And then he said the defensive tackles and the cornerback position maybe not as deep or not as many players as there's been in the past. So some of the top receivers, Carnell Tate out of Ohio State, he's number 1. You got the kid Lemon, Mekhi Lemon from USC. Is one of the top receivers there also. So we're going to see some receivers flying off the board there. And, of course, the edge rushers are going to go. There's a lot of big-time edge rushers in this draft. Bailey and Bain will be going early. Bailey out of Texas Tech and Bain out of Miami. But, yeah, we're going to see a lot of receivers. Quarterbacks, this is another down year. We won't have the drama of Shedeur Sanders like we had last year. But it's going to be, where's Ty Simpson going to go after Fernando's taken? Is somebody going to trade up and take him in the first round like the Giants did last year with Jackson Dart? If so, we'll see who that is. A lot of people think the Jets are going to do that. And now the Giants are big-time players with their pick from the Bengals and the Dexter Lawrence deal. So how the Giants going to maneuver at the top of the draft. So we're going to see how this draft unfolds on Thursday night. We'll see if the Falcons sit out the first round or try to jump back in. And then we'll see how they try to build out the rest of their roster moving forward with the draft. So with that, we're going to thank you all for listening. This is the first episode of the Bowtie Files podcast. Glad to be back on this platform with the good men from Sideline Sports. Thanks for having me.